Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. So in today's tutorial, I'll be teaching you how to make this beautiful halter neck top with a cape and a collar. So if this looks like what you would want to learn, do not forget to hit on the like and the subscribe button. Turn on your notification bell so you can get notified whenever we post a new video. And if you are a returning subscriber, thank you for stopping by. Thank you for watching my video. Thank you so much. I sincerely appreciate this. So guys, let's get straight into the video. The first thing I went ahead to do, I went ahead to draft my basic bodice pattern. That's my shoulder, and I went ahead to mark my bust point. So from the bust point, you go up by 1.5 to get the chest line, and also I determine my half length, which is 17, the length of my top. Okay, so guys, next I went to impute my armhole line, and also I went to mark my bust span measurement nipple to nipple, which is 8 divided by 2 is 4. So I marked on the bust point and also on the waistline. I also went ahead to mark my under bust from my shoulder to my under bust, which is 13. Okay, so this is it. Next, I'll go ahead and get my armhole line. I'll get the center of my armhole line, okay, then go in by 0.5 inch, and also my bust measurement divided by 4. I marked it on the chest line. Then I went ahead to connect in order to get my armhole curve. Okay, so just go ahead and connect like you see me doing. The next thing I went ahead to do, the dart intake is half of an inch on both sides, so I marked half of an inch just like you see me doing, and I connected it from the under bust to the half length. And also from the bust point, I'll come down by 1 inch so that I can get my curve for the under bust. Okay, also I'm going to create a dart around my armhole, so I'm just going to connect from my armhole down to my bust point, and the dart intake is going to be half of an inch on both sides, which is 1 inch dart intake. So just go ahead and connect, then make sure you extend the lower dart just like you see me doing. So ensure you blend up any pointed edge. So next, for the neck width, I use 3 inch. Since it's a high neck, a collar neck, 3 by 2 for the front. Then just go ahead and connect. Okay, so I also went ahead to connect from that neck to my bust measurement, just like you see me doing. Remember, this is a halter neck top. It's going to have collar. Then I added my seam allowance of 1.5 inch, and also the dart intake we have there, because we'll be cutting it off. What I have is half of an inch, so I went ahead to replace it back. On the waistline, my waist measurement divided by 4 is 7.5. Then the dart intake is 1 inch, and also my seam allowance of 1.5. So just go ahead and connect from the chest line to the waistline. Also, I'm going to blend up the armhole just like you see me doing. So since this is going to have a collar and there is an opening around the neck, I'm going to subtract it by 2 inch. Then I'll go ahead and connect to my chest line. Just go ahead and watch what I'm doing if you don't understand what I'm saying. Okay, so I'm going to be making use of the second line now, not the first one, since this has a collar and it has an opening. So just go ahead and cut out like you see me doing, and I went ahead to cut out the darts as well. Please just watch me carefully. Okay, so this is our front pattern. I've gone ahead to draft the back pattern, and here is my zipper allowance, my bust point, which is 10 inch. From the bust point, you go up by 1.5 to get the chest line, and also I imputed the measurement I have on my shoulder onto my chest line, then went ahead to connect to get my armhole line. So for the neck width is 3 by 1 inch for the back, the front is 3 by 2, while the back is 3 by 1. Okay, so I just went ahead to extend the neck and also impute my dart intake. Our bust span is 8 divided by 2 is 4. Then the dart intake is going to be 1 inch, half of an inch on both sides. Then I'm just going to connect from the chest line to the waist. So guys, I'm also going to impute my bust measurements on my bust divided by 4. Whatever you have, just go ahead and mark. Then you connect to your armhole line to get your armhole curve. And also I'm just going to get the center of that armhole line, I'm going to have a dart intake as well, which is half of an inch on both sides. So go ahead and mark half of an inch on both sides. The essence of this dart is to give it fitting, okay, just to give our dress fitting. So just go ahead and connect like so, then blend up any pointed area. So I went ahead to extend the lower dart by 3/4 of an inch. The front piece we extended by 1 inch, but the back is going to be 3. And also I marked 2 inch like we did for the front, then connect to the chest line. Please take note of this 2 inch because we'll be needing it when making our bands. So I added my seam allowance of 1.5 inch. Okay, then on the waist measurement is, when I divided by 4, what I have is 7.5. Then I added my that intake of 1 inch, then the seam allowance of 1.5. So I just went ahead to connect like you see me doing. So on the waistline I went in by 3/4 of an inch, then I'll go ahead and connect it to up just like you see me doing. We are going to be cutting this off. This is just to allow our zipper to sit well at the back. So guys, I just went ahead to cut out my pattern and the darts. Just watch what I'm doing if you don't understand what I'm saying. So this is the front part and the back pattern. Make sure you label this so you don't mix the center front and the side back together. So I've gone ahead to transfer my pattern to my fabric, and I added my seam allowance of half of an inch all the way. And also I have 2 pieces for the side front and the side back. I added lining to it, just the side front and the side back. The center front and the center back doesn't have a lining piece. So I added 1 inch to hem this top, the folding allowance. I added 1 inch at the down part. This is the side back. So make sure you cut 2 pieces, lining piece and the actual fabric, two for the side front and the side back. But for the center back, there is no lining piece. So I'm going to be sewing the main fabric first, right side facing each other. This is the center back and the side back. Go ahead and stitch using half of an inch. You're going to repeat the same thing to the second piece. Also for the side front and the center front, I'm going to be stitching using half of an inch. Just open it up, right side facing each other. I'm going to place them just like you see me doing. Go to your sewing machine and stitch using half of an inch. I'll repeat the same thing to the second side as well. Okay, after I was done stitching, this is what it looks like. So I'm going to be using my lining piece to cover up this edge. So go ahead and pick your lining piece for the center front, for the side front. So place it just like you see me doing. Then you're going to turn it over like so. Turn it to the center front and stitch using half of an inch. Then you are going to do the same thing to the other side as well. This will enable us to cover up our rough edge. I'll repeat the same thing to the back as well. Turn it to the center back and stitch alongside just like you see me doing. Stitch using half of an inch. When you open it up, the rough edge will be covered. So I'll go ahead and stitch this. I'll iron and show you what it looks like. So guys, after I was done stitching, this is what it looks like. I went ahead to impute my actual body measurement. Okay, go ahead and impute your actual body measurement. Next, I'm going to measure my armhole all the way around, and after I was done measuring, what I have is 21.5. So just take note of that number. Then I'm going to be using my pattern paper to cut out the cape. So fold in a triangular form, 180-degree flay. Then I'm just going to turn it this way. Remember, what I need is 21.5. So I'm just going to get the circumference like so, then measure. 21.5 divided by 2 is actually 10 3/4. So make sure that you have 10 3/4, and if it is more than that, then you can reduce it, but what I have, it's okay. So at this end, I'm going to be measuring 3. One side is actually lower than the other, so as I'm proceeding, I will be increasing the number as well. So I just mark 3.5. Then at this other end, I'm going to be marking 5 inch. I want it to be 5 inch. So just go ahead and mark 5 inch. Then you can reduce it to 4.5. Then you can reduce it to 4 inch until it meets up with the one we have already. Just go ahead and just watch what I'm doing. I went ahead to cut this out. Okay, just go ahead and cut this out. And also I'm going to cut the circumference of my circle. So guys, the next thing, I'm going to be opening up the side. I have two pattern paper here. I actually cut two for the cape, one for one sleeve and the other for the second sleeve. So this is what it looks like. I later went ahead to increase the circumference because I don't want the armhole to be too tight. So I added like 2 inches extra to what I have before. So instead of me to have 11 inch, if you measure it now, you discover that what I have is 13 inch. I just want ease around the armhole. I don't want it too fitted. So if you measure, what I have is actually 13 inches now. Yeah, this is 13 inch. So we'll be using this, we'll be transferring it to our fabric. Remember, I actually wanted this other side to be 5 inch, so I'm going to increase it back since I reduced it before. So I went ahead to increase it to 5 inch and not 4 inch. Make sure you replace it back. Then I added half of an inch all the way. Just go ahead and cut out like you see me doing. Okay, then I'm also going to cut out the circumference. Make sure you cut two pieces. I actually use the same fabric for the lining and the actual fabric. I use the same fabric for both the lining and the actual fabric. You can decide not to use a lining, maybe just done with bias. The fabric I'm using is not too strong, so I just need to double it, but you can go ahead and use a different lining too if you don't mind. Right now, I'll go ahead to my sewing table. I'm going to sew using half of an inch all the way around. Then I'll repeat the same thing to the second sleeve as well. Stitch half of an inch all the way around. Then I'll turn it out, give it a good press. Guys, after I was done doing that, this is what it looks like. I've gone ahead to stitch the top to secure both the lining and the actual fabric together. So next, I'm going to be fixing this to my dress. Remember the darts area, so take note of that point. I used my bias to turn from the dart leg, from the first dart leg to the second dart leg, just to conceal my armhole line. So just go ahead and conceal the rough edge from the first dart to the second dart leg. Okay, I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. So my cape, I'm going to, I'll have to make that area free so you can be able to move your hand. So I'm going to place my cape from the neck, secure with your safety pin. Then I'm going to stop at that point where my dart is. Okay, when I'll go to the back and I'll continue, place your cape on the neck. Then you're just going to stop where your dart is. You're not going to stitch it all the way to your side. Just go ahead and stitch using half of an inch. Then you're going to stop at that point. When you get to the other sleeve, you're going to repeat the same thing. You do the same thing to the second sleeve as well. After I was done stitching, this is what it looks like. I'll go ahead and use my bias to turn this up. Okay, I'll go ahead and use my bias to cover up our rough edge. You see that I actually have enough space on the armhole to be easy for me to move my hand. So I'm going to be using my bias to turn it from the right side to the wrong side. You're going to stitch it all the way. Okay, when you stitch it using half of an inch, you turn it to the wrong side and stitch as well. I'll do that and show you what it looks like. So guys, I just went ahead to measure my neck, which is, you measure the front, this is 5. Also, you place your tape at the back and you measure one side. From 5, I have 8.5. Then from there, I'm going to be measuring the other side, which is 12.5. Okay, so remember we are going to add 4 inches extra to this 12, the one we deducted when we were drafting. So for the collar, the length of the collar, the height of my collar is 3.5. So I folded half of an inch on both sides, and my collar is actually 1 inch. Go ahead and iron. The length of my band is actually 16.5, so I added 1 inches extra. Just make sure you have enough of this. So I'm going to get the midpoint of my collar, then I'll place it at the center of my front neckline. Notch the center, okay, and place it just like you see me doing. Do not forget to get the center of your collar and place it in between. We are going to be stitching in between. Carefully secure with your safety pin so it will be easy for you. Go ahead and secure with your safety pin. I'll go next to the back. I'm going to do the same thing to the back. Place it in between like you see me doing. I later trim off some the bands, so just go ahead and trim and place it in between. Then note 2 inches is what we trimmed off when we were drafting. Make sure that that opening should not be more than 2 inches. Secure with your safety pin and measure. Make sure it should not be more than 2 inches. So this is 2.5. I just went ahead to reduce it back, okay? Just watch what I'm doing. If you don't understand what I'm saying, this is 2 inches. Yeah, and we are good to go. I'll go ahead to my sewing machine. I'll go ahead and top stitch, and I'll show you what it looks like after top stitching. I'll also go ahead and fix the zipper, and that will be the end of this tutorial and show you what it looks like. So guys, after I was done doing that, this is the final outcome. It's looking so beautiful. Please do not forget to share this video, drop a comment, like and subscribe to the channel. See you in my next video. Bye.